jenniferneurons.com. Being joined by my dear friend, Michaela Kennedy. How are you, darling?
Hello, Jennifer and all. Thanks so much for joining us. And Congo Bird is in the house as well, and he's waving his hand to say hello. Call it as well, and he's waving his hand to say hello.
And you back in your own nest, so to speak. I would love to share with you a conversation that happened at the dinner table the other day. My youngest mentioned that he wanted a parrot. I would love to share with you a conversation that happened at the dinner table the other day. My youngest mentioned that he wanted a parrot. And he is a rescue bird, and it is not responsible as stewardship of the earth and the earth's resources to own an animal that is supposed to be out in the wild. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity, and I'm asking for you to share your passion about the parrots with our viewers to make sure that the message is getting across to them that feel about people owning parrots as pets. If you don't mind me,
because I am actually dealing with my own guilt for showing this in public about the kind of close relationship that I have with him. He seems to be very calm and wonderful on my shoulder right now, but he is a wild animal. He bites. He makes a big mess. I have to be careful, otherwise he may fly away. If I were to open a window and he flew away, a raptor would kill him because he is a prey animal. He would be dead within 3 days. He is a prey animal. He would be dead within 3 days. It's learned traits as to how to forage for food and how to find things. But he is a wild animal, and it's very difficult for us to understand because we like to own things. And dogs and cats to some extent are domesticated. If you hear of anyone saying that birds are domesticated, it is not true. It is a complete foul. It is just not true at all. What my suggestion is to anybody, bird, is to do your research, first of all. Sure, there are many birds that are unwanted, that are stuck in rescues, that could very well, do for a nice home. And if you have the courage and the responsibility and the time it takes to, look at his, do for a nice home. And if you have the courage and the responsibility and the time it takes to, look at his there. It's completely plucked out because of he goes into panics, mutilate themselves. I could go on, and I don't want to go on and on, but I do want to say one thing. We want the bird. They were abandoned. Many different tragic reasons why these birds are stuck in cages and why we cannot free them. And even when we do tours and we spend a good hour and a half iterating and why it is so irresponsible to own a pet like a bird like this, at the end of it, people always say, I want a parrot. There is somebody who really wants a parrot. Go volunteer at a bird rescue. And if you feel that after volunteering there that you have the courage and the ability to be that responsible for the rest of your life for decades, right? Yes, then do it. But it's not a passing fancy. The rest of your life for decades, right?
Such an important topic. And thank you, Michaela. It's such an important topic. And
that seems to be the amount of time that a human can stand, and then they want to go on to something else. So this is for life. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm just getting to know him. I've only had him 7 years. So this is for life.
I felt from my son, it's like, well, what a great conversation starter. And so, yeah, thank you for being willing to go there and play along today.
And seriously, he's young, but if there are any places, you have to be 18 typically to work at a sanctuary, but there may be some rescues, and he could do some volunteer work if there were local wildlife rescues, because he is wildlife. Some rescues and work if there were local wildlife rescues, because he is wildlife.
Yeah.
No matter how.
Talking about, I'm not a bird. Because he's like, what? I'm a bird? Talking about, I'm not a bird.
He's part of the conversation for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, how people are moving, shifting, and changing.
Wow, perfect.
Well, that's where we're really at. And
well, in here for just a second, because we have gone from a conversation that shows our human irresponsibility to the earth and to the beings of the earth. And now we're segueing into the movement of animals and the wildlife that is such an important part of our entire humanity. Whether we live in a city or the country, we very rarely look at the importance of and the power that nature gives us. That is part of the swamp map too. Power that nature gives us. And that's part of the swamp map.
That's why I'm laughing, because it is at all. There's so much information for us in nature that we, and as we go through our lives, we realize, there comes a point where we realize how much, and how we are, in essence, trying to live something that isn't our authentic truth. Something's off. Something just doesn't work. It's like walking into your closet and seeing all these clothes and you're wondering, now who in the hell belongs to that? That's not mine. They put it on and, well, yeah, okay, this is mine, but it just doesn't feel right. Belongs to that. That's not mine. They put it on. Well, yeah, okay, this is mine. It just doesn't feel right. And you can't put your finger on, okay, well, I fell down yesterday and I skinned my arm, bleeding right there, and it hurts, and that's what's bothering me. You can't point to a throbbing headache and say, my head hurts, I'm feeling off. There's nothing identifiable other than things are just off. And the frustration builds and the anxiety builds, and pretty soon your self-esteem starts to suffer because you're going, no, wait a minute, I'm feeling there's something truly amiss. And it's when we get what has been and what we're moving into that we start going, okay, this shit's got to change. This isn't acceptable. And finding someone who understands it and is able to talk about it. And I see you got your hand raised, and go ahead.
And Jennifer.
And finding someone who understands it and is able to talk about it. And I see you got your hand raised, and go ahead.
And Jennifer, very of what's wrong. When that could 20 million pieces of information subconsciously that we may or may never available to us consciousness, that we don't know everything. Yeah. and we don't need to find out either. We don't have to label it. We don't have to run to that closest. Well, all we have to do is recognize that, yes, something is amiss, and move from there.
Mm-hmm.
So
as we're going,
beautiful, Jennifer.
That's where the swamp map helps, because it helps to be able to identify and put down on paper and put down in our own words what's really going on inside. And most of us are never given that opportunity until we have to, until something happens. Of us, we have to take a look at our shit. What would happen if you could actually start the process before it was in crisis situation? Would you be interested in something like that? Most people I talk to are like, well, yeah, God, where were you 5 years ago? It's like, well, I was here. Where were you 5 years ago? Well, I was looking for something like just like.
Well, it's you say that, Jennifer, because we have gone through decades of this, and we've found, and we have finally figured out our formula and realized, yeah, you know what, sometimes it is better to do the dishes and to clean up your mess before all the cockroaches come in. And you know, whatever it is, you know, like get yourself on a healthy diet before the heart attack or the stroke comes.
Right.
And when we realized, there he goes, he doesn't like talking about illness, I guess. He's giving me a hard time. So the idea is that many of us, as we get older, finally do figure out that, yeah, there is a map and there is a way of figuring this out before we do it. And then there are others who continually step in the dog do, continually do it and keep going, gosh, you know, how can I get out of this? And these are the people that the swamp map helps, I think. How can I get out of this? And these are the people that the swamp map helps, I think.
And figured out that, wait a minute, things aren't working and I need to find some answers. And they're looking for that map. And this is one of those that empowers people to be able to have a manual to what's going on within themselves. And what's really funny is that I'm finding that those that are drawn to it most are those that are going through some sort of major transition, be it parents died and now they're those that are drawn to it, major transition, in essence, the leaders of their families. You know, their roles are changing.
Yeah.
Midlife crisis, midlife, yes, where things shift, where we suddenly realize, wait a minute, my parents' rules, life beliefs, expectations, wait a minute, those aren't necessarily mine. But until we have a chance to stop and take a look at that and realize that truth is set in stone, until we can actually take a look at that, it continues to be underneath the surface. And for the map, and I'm done talking about just, and that's what the map does. We're going to go ahead and jump on in.
Great.
I am going to do a screen share, and I'm going to trust that everybody has their pen and paper and a willingness to dive in here. We're going to start screen share. Now, did it take it? Let's see. Start screen share. Now, did it take it? Let's see.
There it is.
Swamp map on the mountains. We're going to start with in essence, the height and the pinnacle of our memories, our emotions, our achievements, our accomplishments. So, as it says on the screen, the mountains on the map represent those times and places, our memories, our emotions. These are the moments in your life that you felt you had just personal Mount Everest, reaching a goal that you had worked really hard to achieve, something big in the positive swing in your life. Now this one, really hard to achieve, something big that in your life. Now this one, and take a breath in. Breathe out. And as you're breathing out, take a breath in, breathe in, your body relax. Let yourself settle back into your body. Relax. Last exhale. Know that you're safe. And adventure. There's no exhale. Know that you're safe, and know that this is a great adventure. Open your eyes and you take a look at that icon. It says, this is about great exploration. Life, when you hit that icon, it says mountain. You think about those times in your life when you felt you were literally, you have been working for the last 6 months on. And even though there were lots and lots of struggles and lots of setbacks, deadline, it was so well received that people were amazed at what you'd been able to accomplish. And lots of setbacks, to look at yourself and go, yes, I did it. I've got what it takes. Look at yourself and go, yes, I did it. If what has been you, I've got what it takes. What has it been in your life? What has been your Mount Everest? As I'm talking, jot it down. That's what the paper and pencil's for. When the things come up, just jot them down. One of the biggest accomplishments for me, strangely enough, was coming out of anesthesia from the birth of my third child. Ended up having to have a C-section. And it was something that I was very, very, very afraid of. And when I came out of the anesthesia, the relief, the excitement of having survived, the relief, the excitement of having survived, the accomplishment of bringing a life into the world. It all made me realize, okay, whew, I can do this. Now, was it something that I had worked really hard? Well, kind of. Look at what I can do. It can be anything that brings you back to that point of saying, wow, look at what I can do. For example, accomplishments. For example, my daughter went free diving with, she took a month off. Actually, it was a summer course. She went to Fiji and went to pursue her passion of diving. Kind of important if you want to be diving down deep underwater, but not just regular scuba certified. She had to get deep water certified. Well, her test for the certification was 2 days before deep water certified. Well, and she discovered that she had panic 2 days before she flew out to Fiji.
Wow.
And she had panic attacks when she went underwater. So here she was. She had already passed her basic scuba. Then she had to go and do her deep water scuba. Riding on it. If she didn't pass that exam, she would not have been able to get onto that airplane, and started following her live stream.
Wow.
So those are just a couple of, and started following her live stream.
Wow.
So those are just a couple of examples of Mount Everest moments. So as you write them down, write down as many details as possible. How did you feel? What did things look like? How were your relationships in that moment? If it was a work environment, how were the work relationships with your coworkers? If it was a work environment, the work relationships with your coworkers, with your boss, with your subordinates, with the secretaries, all of it. And remember what it was like. Did you feel? Remember looking in your eyes, and how did you feel about yourself? Was there any, even you're invincible and that you could take on anything? Was there, if so, around what? And congratulations, hold on to that memory. That's a big deal. If not, congratulations, hold on to that memory. That's a big deal. The next question on there is, how long did the feelings last? Was it just a fleeting moment and then did you find that you were moments or weeks after it? And each of your moments will have different memories for you. There will be different timelines. There will be different reactions of success. What were your thoughts that were going through your head? And interesting, I want to circle back to this. What were your thoughts that were going through your head? And interesting, I want to circle back to this.
May I share something?
Yes, you may. Let me take it off screen share.
It's interesting as you're going through this, a memory that's coming up for me, because growing up, many things came easy for me. Music came easy for me, sports came easy for me, but I was never encouraged. I was always told the things that I could not do. It didn't really mean that much to me. I did not understand when I had successes. They were kind of a little bit of a relief because they were expected. And it wasn't until, gosh, there were so many things that I was told that I could not do. I remember in my 20s when I finally just decided that that was it. I was going to just leave and go to Tokyo. And my father told me I couldn't do it because it was a foreign country and Americans couldn't live in a foreign country. And I said, well, you know what? That may be true, but I'm going to try anyway. And he was trying, I'm going to try anyway. And the point of telling me that it was not possible that I could do it. And when I got there, and I got a job within a week, and after being there, I mean, I was there for 8 years, and it wasn't until maybe 2 or 3 years into it when I had a nice apartment, I was making great money, I was networking, and things were falling into place. I was starting to use the language when I started to feel a really strong sense of accomplishment, that I had really done something, and that it was okay to be proud of myself for having. And that was quite a mantle of accomplishment. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, well, yes, we have many accomplishments, and sometimes we have some major accomplishments. It's very important to recognize them, reward ourselves for it. Nobody else will. Good pat on the back and a, hey, I did it. Reward ourselves for it.
To remind yourself that you've been there.
And it's possible.
It is possible. And like everything, there are shifts and changes. Nothing stays the same, which is a scary concept. And yet, as you go through this, by being able to connect real world, personal examples of being on that mountaintop, it allows you to, when you're in the swamp, look up and go, oh yeah, that's right, I've been there. I can get there again. Maybe on a different mountain, maybe in a different arena, but I've done it before.
Exactly.
I can get there again. Maybe on a different mountain, maybe in a different arena, but before.
Exactly.
To celebrate your own horn. That's making more of yourself than is really there. No, what it is, it's about being able to say, yes, I did it, I accomplished it, and feeling good about what you've done. Because in that moment of lifting yourself up and acknowledging what you've done, you're encouraging others to do the same. Because it's not a neener, look at what I did. We left that back when we were little kids. This is about, yes, I did it. See, it is possible. Come on, let's go together. And it's a totally different energy. But if we don't ever allow ourselves to look at that and really feel it, and like you said, really, and it's a totally different to look at that and really feel it, and like you said, really
realize that we are our best support, that's when we can pull ourselves up with our own life vines, as it were.
yeah. And until we learn those skills, we sometimes need some help with that.
Yeah.
Share. Thank you, Michaela. And we sometimes need some help with that.
Yeah. Share it.
Yeah. And continue to do that, please, because this is very much an interactive thing. And so I feel very stressed just talking to myself. Okay, so we're into this, and you just did it beautifully. Be honest with yourself. This is for your journey. This is about you really getting in. You just did it beautifully. Be honest with yourself. Of success journey. This is about you really getting in there and wearing that feeling of that brings you that feeling of accomplishment, of strong self-esteem. As long as the memory that you're looking at brings you that feeling of accomplishment, kind of examples that we're really looking for. Let's see. And this is the part of the free one that, let's see. And this is the part of the free one that is on my site. But we're going to go ahead and take it to another. I'm going to ask another question that isn't on here. So those that are watching either the live broadcast or the replay are going to get an added. So this is talking about actual accomplishments. Think about a time when you had a conversation that went really, really well. Something that you were concerned about, or say that you were having a conflict somewhere and you knew you were going to have a conversation with this person. You were dreading the thought of it because you knew that it could go a million different ways and it could get really ugly or it could be really great. But as we're focusing on the mountain aspect, think of those conversations. Things went so much better than you ever imagined possible. Those moments when it's like you tapped into the universal brilliance. You opened your mouth and all of the right things came out to the point where you're kind of going down those circumstances. What was it? Who was it that you had the conversation with? What was the feared outcome? What was the actual outcome? How did you feel about yourself? How did you feel about the other person? How did that impact the rest of your day? How did that impact the way that you viewed that person from that moment on? How did that impact your view of conversations and conflicts in general? And how did that color your view of conflict in that specific area? Meaning, was it around work? Was it around chores? Was it around a personal aspect of your relationship? What was it about? And see what comes up for you. And the point in all of this is, as you're going through this, not only are you being brought back into those high moments, but you're also being able to take one start writing down what your thoughts were. What was going on in your mind? What was your mind chatter like? What were you saying to yourself? What were others saying to you? How did it feel? How did it help? And which ones landed off for you? It help? And which ones landed off for you? was saying this, that, and the other thing, and I really started to doubt myself. But then I realized, no, I did. Okay, that thing right there that I began to doubt myself, jot that down. And I understand that those that are watching are saying, yeah, but that I began to doubt myself, that down. And I understand that those that are watching are saying, yeah, but it's possible that you're saying that, yeah, but that didn't actually happen. Take your hands off of it needing to fit exactly what your life looked like and allow your subconscious to bring your memories up. Trust me, this is the most bizarre thing about our subconscious. But when we allow the things to come up, our minds will provide us a memory, not the actual example, it's the emotion underneath of it. And every single person's emotional experience is going to be different, and your subconscious will bring to you the memory that you need in this moment. So as you're looking at all of these high points, I'd like you to stop and take a shift just a little bit and notice, was there anybody that was saying anything just a little bit? And notice, was there anybody that was saying anything negative? Was there anybody that was acting negative? Excuse me just a second. Because we all know people that when we're on the top of the mountain, it does bring out the not so good parts in some people. And cousin Joe down there is a gift in that tug. What are they saying? What are they acting like? How does that make you feel? What do you change to make your leg okay or to make cousin Joe let go? And as you're jotting all of this down, you've got the center thought idea right here, and then you're going to have all this stuff that comes off of it. And each one of those is an idea, a thought, an emotion, positive, negative, neutral, that leads you to insights into what was going on in your own head. Oh my God, I've never thought of it like that. It's a little bit overwhelming. Yeah. And it's all going on in there anyway. Why not get it out so you can look at it? Because then what you're going to notice going on in there anyway. Why not get it out so you can look at it? Because then what you're going to as you've got this incredible spoke with all these, I know it looks like a sun, but each one of these gives you a path. Because down here at the bottom, there's cousin, and cousin Joe triggers self-liking of, ooh, that's not right. Why did I go there? Interesting. Okay. Because it was self-liking that I was going for. It was self-loathing.
Very interesting.
Which part? The changing of the words or the path itself?
Very interesting.
Which part? The changing of the words or the path itself? Did I write that? Start asking other questions. Start writing lines out from it and say, okay, so where did that take me? Things that you, well, so wait a minute, why did I write that? Start asking other questions. Start writing lines out from it and say, okay, so where did that take me? Mm-hmm. Because it has to be a sorting hat. Staying the same is far greater than the fear of change. Because you and I both know that until you can identify the thoughts that are going on behind and be able to track down where they came from or if they're still valid anymore, things won't shift long term. They may get placated for a while. they're going to shift and morph. And it's when we actually get into what is our truth, what do we believe, what do we want to believe, what serves us no longer. Until we get down into that, we're looking at life through a very, very, very dirty window. Watched a very interesting show the other day. It's called QI. And it was about facts. FACTS. I think you and I have talked about this, about how facts change as we learn more, as we grow, as new things are developed or discovered, facts change. And yet, if we're holding on to truths from when we were far younger, it's very possible that we're operating day to day with rules that no longer work for us. And until we can identify what those are, things can't shift because the bedrock that they're on is, you want to build on marble, but you're actually built on sandstone. So until you take out the sandstone and put the marble in there, the base is always going to be the same. Things aren't ever going to shift and change. Am I making any sense?
Oh, goodness, Jennifer, I remember last week I brought up the analytics symposium that I went to up at Bryant University. And one of the professors that talked about probability and how probability used to work in the 20th century, but probability no longer goes by the same rules in the 21st century. And it's all due to the share of information about how we now are so interconnected. There's such an interconnectedness that we flow together rather than having a median line. And when one thing is volatile, everything becomes volatile. And looking back at engineer, it points like the Millennium Bridge that we talked about, the crash, the financial crash, and how it wasn't just America, but it was global. And the experts were all saying, this defies the calculations. This goes against everything that we've learned. We have no idea why this happened. And you can find these kind of interviews all over the internet of these so-called experts saying, we don't know what happened. What happened was they were using an outdated model, an outdated paradigm. And this is exactly what you're talking about. And it's happening on a global level.
And what do people do about it? I mean, is there anybody, what did he suggest? What's the answer to that?
Well, that was funny because my sister teaches statistics. She's a math professor. And
what's the answer to that?
Well, that was really funny because my sister teaches statistics. She's a math professor. And not required, but for extra credit. And she said, I told my students they had to come to this. Dread in her face. And she said, I told my students they had to come to this to know why they have to use it if it's why they have to learn it if it's an outdated paradigm. And to use it if it's why they have to learn it if it's an outdated paradigm. Paradigms either. It's all about awareness. It's all about bringing ourselves to an awareness to realize that there was nothing bad with the old paradigm. There was nothing wrong with that old model. That model may work, and it may still work for a beginner level or a certain level of activity, whatever it may be. But it doesn't mean that it's going to work every time. That's where we bring ourselves into a place of awareness, where we open up, and this goes for everything too. It's not just about our great accomplishments. It's about eating healthy, good habits, I met a woman today who had lost over 100 pounds. About changing, about being aware of how those old patterns and those old habits just don't anymore. And it all comes from being willing to look at the swamp, being willing to look at why we're there. One guy in the group today said, he started laughing. He said, well, I have a whole bunch of bad habits that I have not been willing to change. And somebody said, well, you know what? If they work for you, fine. I have not been willing to change. And somebody said, well, you know what? If they work for you, fine. It's serving you. Because you may beat yourself up over something that you think is bad, but maybe it's serving a purpose. Maybe it's helping you to relax. Maybe it's helping to rebalance and reinvigorate you. Who knows? Only you know for sure.
Bad? Who says it's bad? What does bad mean to you? Does it have to have a label of bad or good? If it is achieving a goal, and the goal is what you're wanting, have it labeled as bad.
Life examples here for me. In fact, it always made me feel quite good. I don't drink a whole lot of it, maybe 1 or 2 mugs a day, which might be a lot for some people. But I enjoy it. And about 20 years ago, all of these reports came out about how bad coffee is for you. It's horrible for you. You shouldn't do it and everything else. So I started doing my own research on it. And I found that coffee has antioxidants in it. And the worst thing that can possibly happen from drinking coffee that they have been able to find medically is that it may give you some heart palpitations from the caffeine. But other than that, they haven't found anything more dangerous than that. Palpitations from the caffeine. But other than that, they haven't found anything more dangerous than that. A quadruple bypass, and the doctor said to him, you want to drink coffee? Go ahead. You can drink coffee. And now it's funny, they're talking about the antioxidants in coffee. My doctor has told me that it's good for you, that it opens the capillaries and allows more blood. It's pretty funny. And a few other people started peddling the benefits of coconut oil and how great coconut oil is for you and how you should switch to coconut oil. Well, I tried that, and you should switch to coconut oil. Well, I tried that, and it didn't make me feel good. I realized that I was allergic to coconut. I was having, and it was not, I mean, it did not agree with me at all. A few years later, start finding out that it's one of the highest saturated oils there is, that sure, there may be some benefits, but there are a lot of drawbacks to it as well. So again, we can't just jump on the bandwagon. We need to decide things for ourselves. 7.2 billion people on the planet with 7.2 unique bodies and unique spirits. Become aware for yourself. Bring up your own self-awareness. Let your own self-awareness rise by working with this swamp map and the kind of mindfulness exercises that we give you, and realize that you have the choice for yourself to decide what is good for you without putting somebody else's label on it.
Yes, and good for you right now. And being able to release it having to be like that forever, we're just talking about right now. Because when you're 10 years older, things are going to be different. You will have learned 10 years worth of stuff. And to expect that everything's going to be the same is not realistic because you've changed. You've grown. And the coffee thing, there was a point in my life where I had one doctor telling me at that point I had asthma, told me, drink coffee. It opens up your capillaries. It opens up your lungs. It'll help you breathe better. And my female doctor saying, oh no, don't drink coffee. It's going to give you cysts in your breasts. Like, cysts in my breasts or breathing? Guess what? Coffee.
For 40 years now, and I haven't had any problems with that yet.
Yeah.
Coffee for 40 years now, and I haven't had any problems with that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, almost inconsequential, because so much of it is here. And yes, it is about discovering what works for you. It is about doing what is best for you. It is about making choices for you. It is about living your life based on what's right for you, based on your experiences, where you want to go, what you've done, what you like, what you don't like. And it's being able to take off all of those different layers and keep us safe, they keep us alive. They're helpful when we get older. And when we're able to look at all of that from a perspective of mindfulness and awareness and be able to choose what works for us, we begin to expand into an area where we are aligned, balanced, and more healthy for us, whatever that happens to look like. And it is by becoming more aware and being able to question even the labels. What does that mean? Wow, we have so many conversations around meanings of words. What does that mean to you? This is what it means to me. And it's really fascinating when you sit down and start tearing apart the basic words that we use, not only with each other, but with ourselves. And looking at, so whose voice is that in? When did I hear that? Why did I take that on? And each other, but with ourselves. And looking at, so whose voice is that in? When did I hear that? Why did I take that on? And it's very eye-opening, and it raises the awareness level exponentially and puts us into a position of actually having choice, which is, we talk about this all the time. That's what the main theme of everything that we do is about: raising awareness, raising mindfulness to move us into a place of choice.
Bravo.
The information door just closed. It's like, okay, well.
Kind of made me laugh, and I want to thank all of the viewers that stay with us to the end, that are getting something out of it. And we'd love to hear your feedback. We really love your feedback. Leave us comments, shoot us messages. It helps us a lot to know whether or not we are making sense to you for your life. We have a viewer who watches us quite frequently, and last week she sent me a message and said to me that she ran out of time, that she only was able to watch the first 15 minutes, and asked me if it was worth it to watch the rest. And asked me the rest. And message and said, fine, I'll watch the whole thing. Which leads me to write back a message and said, fine, I'll watch the whole thing. Which leads me to realize that she's a frequent viewer and she's been watching them through, that must be getting something out of it. So.
That's funny, because last week we had the most viewers after the fact than in, I think, any of the other hangouts that we've done, which
awesome.
We'll see show up in it where their questions are and how we can be of assistance.
Awesome.
Show up in it where their questions are and how we can be of assistance.
Feedback. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, I really appreciate your presence and your insights and sharing your sparks of memories and experience with us. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next week.